Welcome to the Smarter Science of Slim, the scientifically proven program where you eat more and exercise less to burn fat and boost health.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Lovely listeners, this is Carrie Brown welcoming you to the Calorie Myth Show. And with me I have, of course, Mr. Jonathan Baylor.
Woohoo! Carrie, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, and thank you because you are the inspiration for this show, for last week's show, and maybe even next week's show, because listeners, if you didn't catch last week's show, please do, because in it, we made the epic announcement that after not seeing Carrie for about a month, and remember, Carrie has always been quite sane, and if you looked at where Carrie started when we met and when she started going sane versus where she was 2 months ago, it's amazing. But then she shows up after a month, takes off her jacket, and just not only it wasn't so much about body composition, which of course was fabulously different, but her hair, her skin, her smile. She just looked like a radiant. It's like when I'm going to compare you to a reptile here for a second.
Awesome.
Oh, so it's like when a reptile molts and they get like a whole new, they're just, everything about them just looks new and fresh. It was as if Carrie had molted.
Well,
I haven't used the word molted in like a decade.
I wasn't sure how I felt about that when you started the analogy, but I'm feeling better about it now.
So in this last week, we talked about some awesome things Carrie's been doing. We're going to continue that. The case study that is Carrie Brown will continue this week. So Carrie, thank you for letting us case study you.
I'm very excited to share the new me.
So one of the things we touched on last week, Carrie, and I like to, it seems like in a lot of these shows, we start off pretty macro and philosophical, and then we get concrete and practical by the end, which is great. So the macro and philosophical point I wanted to start here was routine. And we touched on routine from a high level last week, but personally, and this is something that I have seen in many different contexts. I'm talking bodybuilding, athletics, just general family management, is that while some people may call routine boring, people who have success with, I'm going to go so far as to say anything, playing the piano, like anything that is generally admired by other people, it is because they have a set routine.
It's funny, as I was sitting in traffic on my way here earlier, I was thinking that exact thing, that routine can seem boring, but it actually is the key to unlocking everything that is exciting in your life. Because if you take care of the important stuff in a routine way, everything else in your life will work better.
Carrie, we've got to play this back, because that phrase you just used, something like routine may seem boring, but it is the key to unlocking the exciting things in your life, is brilliant and is so true. Because how often, for example, let's just one concrete example, and I'm such a routine person that I've never had this problem, but I can only imagine that it would be quite time consuming. So every night, what's for dinner? Like having to think, what's for dinner? Oh, we don't have that. We need to go to the store. Oh, I don't want that. Do you want that? Oh, how do we get that? Having a routine in terms of like on Monday, it's this. On Tuesday, it's this. On Wednesday, it's this. Think about all that time and effort you're saving just with that one example.
Yeah, and that if you apply that to all the areas of your life, having a routine for the important things can be so transformative. I don't even have the words for it.
Yep, because my brother, when I was growing up, he gave me a really good analogy. He said that if you can get the big decisions right, the little decisions become much simpler. So for example, if you say I decide and I commit myself to, I am going to run a marathon, you then don't need to, and you have a routine, which is I get up and I train for 2 hours, whatever. You then don't need to decide if one of your friends is like, hey, I want to go out drinking on Tuesday night and stay up late. Do you want to come with me? Really, you have no decision because you've already made your decision. Because if on Wednesday you have committed to and have the routine of, waking up and training for your athletic goal, you've already made the decision to not go out partying the night before.
Right.
And that's what I think is really key, is making these key big decisions and then finding a routine that puts them at the forefront will then not only crowd out the unimportant things, but it just frees up your mind because there's no decisions that need to be made around eating and exercise and sleep. The decisions have been made. So now you can focus your decision-making power on other, maybe even sexier, more exciting things.
Woohoo! We love that.
And the good news is that this isn't just woo-woo self-help. There's now been a lot of psychological research done to say that willpower, aka decision-making, because every time you have to make a decision, you are consciously using your willpower, is a fixed resource. So just like you can run out of energy, imagine, because it's very close to accurate, that you can only make a certain number of decisions in a day. Hypothetically, let's say you can make 100 decisions in a day, which seems like a lot, but do I want to listen to this or this is a decision. How do you want to spend those decisions is the question you have to ask yourself. How do you want to spend your willpower? Do you want to spend your willpower telling yourself, no, I'm not going to eat lunch? Do you want to eat lunch now? No, I'm not going to eat lunch. I'm hungry. You should eat lunch. No, and continuously deciding to fight off hunger? Or are you going to have a routine that empowers you to feel full, to feel satisfied, to achieve nutritional and exercise serenity so that all of your decisions can be focused on helping others or achieving your professional goals or doing something that leaves a legacy and is awesome?
I'm glad you brought that up about, no, I'm not going to eat lunch. No, I'm not going to eat lunch, because that was one of the things that was really messing me up, in that I would get my schedule was so crazy and I had so many things to do that I would often forget to eat, or I wouldn't have time to eat. And because of that, when I was eating, the things I was eating were sane, but I certainly was not getting my 10 servings of non-starchy veggies in, because if you're only eating once a day, you simply can't eat that amount of food.
Yep.
So one of my big failings was not eating, and it was just because I didn't put the big rocks in, and I didn't have a routine around what I was going to eat when. And I would just routinely be so tired that when I got up in the morning, I didn't stop to make breakfast, or I would just work through lunch because I had so much to do, or I would get home so late that I just didn't have the energy all the time because I had to get to sleep, that I didn't eat dinner, or on some days, all three of those things. And as Jonathan has repeatedly reminded us, starvation is not healthy. And although it wasn't intended, I wasn't intending not to eat. I wasn't consciously choosing not to eat, but the end result was the same, was that I skipped a lot of meals. And so even though I was eating sane when I was eating, there wasn't a lot of eating going on. And you can't expect your body to run well if you're not providing it with fuel. And
there's probably two groups of people right now who are listening to this show. There are the people who are saying, yes, I get it. Of course, routine is important. And I bet you'll find that those are the individuals who are having the most success with their health and fitness outcomes, because I have literally yet to ever, and I've been in this field for a long time, talked to a lot of different people, again, in different arenas, people that are just trying to lose weight, people trying to improve their health, people that are trying to be bodybuilders, people trying to be athletes, who are having success. And if you ask them, like, take me through a typical day, take me through a typical week, they will be like, okay, at 7 a.m. I do this, 10 a.m. I do this, because you're not going to accidentally happen to eat 10 servings of non-starchy vegetables in a day. Right. It's just not going to happen. And for the individuals who are hearing this and are saying, this is just boring, I'm not going to do this, it's a routine existence, it seems too hard, I'm going to do two things in the defense of routine. First is, it's interesting how in every area of our lives, we're like simple. I want simple. Simple is better than complex. If you want to simplify your life, add routine. Because if, for example, I mean, my wife and I are probably too routine, but I don't think we're too routine. But some people might consider us too routine.
They're very routine.
We're very routine, but it also enables us to do a lot of other things in our lives because we don't have to think about a lot of stuff. But for us, there's never any, our weekends are very simple. It's not like, what are we going to do this weekend? Where are we going to go eat this weekend? What's the plan for this weekend? I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. What do you want to do? It's extremely simple. We know exactly what we're going to do. It's simple. There's enough complexity in life, so we like to simplify in that sense. And the other thing is, if you think, for example, eating 10 servings of non-starchy vegetables a day is unreasonable, that's only because it's being looked at from a non-routine basis. Because if every meal, what am I going to eat for breakfast? I don't know. I'm in a rush. Where am I going to be? What about lunch? I don't know. What about dinner? I don't know. The idea that 10 starchy vegetables are just non-starchy vegetables are going to happen? No, you're right. That's ridiculous. But if you're like, this is my breakfast and it has 2 servings of non-starchy vegetables. This is my lunch and it has 3. And this is my dinner and it has 4. And I have this snack, which if I'm hungry, I eat, and it's got 2 servings of, that's 12 servings of non-starchy vegetables. And you've got that routine and it's done. So some of these things that when people hear them, they might think this is unrealistic. It's only unrealistic if you're starting from a place of not at all planning and you're hoping it just happens. And that place really doesn't exist. Nothing worth anything has just ever happens. It requires conscious effort.
Right. I've lost my train of thought. I had a lot of things lined up, but so what I'll say in the interim while I remember is that I have created for me I remember what I was going to say. Sorry, people. Sorry. I take a slurp of your water there while I'm getting my head together. What I was going to say was I'm different to Jonathan in that I have a routine which I have for my work week, which is different than my routine for my weekends. So my routine during the work week gets me through that crazy schedule while keeping all the big rocks intact. But I'm not so routine on the weekend, but that works for me. So, I mean, I just want to make you feel like you don't have to be, to do what the Baylors do and have every single moment of your 7 work days routine. I do a half. I have a routine for my work week, and then at the weekends I'm freer, and I tend to be the more of the, once I've done my workout on Saturday morning, then, well, what am I going to do today? Well, I think I'll do this, and I think I'll do that. And what am I going to eat? Well, I think I'll make this new recipe, or I think I'll make that new recipe. Oh, I loved that I had last week. I think I'll do that. So my weekends are a lot less structured, but that is the way I like it. But then my work weeks are very routine.
Carrie, that inspired me to, I think the macro point here is that routine is, so first of all, do whatever works for you. If somehow you are lucky enough to just have things fall into place and no routine is required, that is brilliant. But if that's not the case, what I just observed in the conversation Carrie and I are having here is that the distance between where you are now and where you want to be from a goal perspective is the bigger that gap is, the more routine is going to help you. And the reason that's true is because there's the more big rocks you need. Here's a concrete example. Let's say you want to become an Olympic athlete. We've all heard, for example, these stories of Olympic gymnasts who train. They literally train for 8 hours a day. So if right now, civilian, you want to become Olympic gymnast, you're going to have to find 8 hours worth of big rocks to fit in your day. The only way you will be able to do that consistently is to routinize everything. Everything. That's why we see these Olympic athletes go to compounds and their entire life is one routine that revolves around these giant big rocks they have. But for example, if your goal is simply to say, I would like to wear one size smaller of pants, there's less that you're going to have to do. So there's more room for just random spontaneity. So they're really the amount of routine you should expect to, let's say, need to best achieve your goals, I believe, is proportional to the ambitiousness of your goals.
Right.
What do you think about that, Carrie?
Yeah, no, I think I just don't want people to get the idea that there's just only one way to do this and your entire life has to be routine. For people who are not routine folks, that may be kind of really like eyes glazing over stuff. It's not like that. You need to work out what works for you, but we are saying that you will get better results in all areas of your life if you routinize. Is that even a word? If you routinize
it is now.
the really important things, especially when it comes to your health and general well-being.
And there's also different there's arenas which routine doesn't work, right? For example, art or very creative endeavors. There are some routines, like when I was writing The Calorie Myth, and I know that a lot of other people experience this, setting aside routine time periods in which you are supposed to write is very helpful. But just saying, there are certain things which aren't linear. That said, eating is something you do consistently throughout the day. Exercise is somewhat linear. It's concrete. It's not this creative undertaking. I feel like things like that, or even your work week, Carrie, which is focused around tactical progress, really routine works better versus, for example, trying to, it's not like making someone fall in love with you can be, you have a routine that helps that to happen, right? So of course, and if your goal is just enjoyment, just to enjoy life, if that is your goal, then that probably doesn't require a huge amount of routine. Whereas again, if your goal is to accomplish some distinct goal, achievement oriented, I've just never met, unless they're lucky, someone who is able to do that without routine. So I would just urge, if you have no routine in your life, if every day is a blank slate and you have to figure out every single thing you're going to do that day, which I don't think many people have that, but you could imagine that would be almost this paralyzing state. Every day you wake up, what the hell am I going to do? I don't know. What am I going to eat? I don't know. That's an ambitious undertaking.
Yeah. For me, routine for that one, since this conversation started because of the dramatic change in me in the last month, the routines that have been most material in making that change are sleep, which we talked about last week. But then from a dietary perspective, eating 3 meals a day has changed the way my body functions. All I had to do was routinize having breakfast, having lunch, and having dinner, and being religious about that. So at 7 o'clock in the morning, I get out of bed, I make breakfast, I eat breakfast. At 12 o'clock, I stop what I'm doing, I eat lunch. At 6 o'clock, I stop what I'm doing, I eat dinner. And that, my body feels different because of that. Just that right there has changed the way my body operates in a good way. It knows there's food coming. It never gets forced into that starvation mode of not burning body fat because it doesn't know when the next meal's coming. All that kind of stuff goes away. So I've been very religious about that, and it's made a huge impact on the way I look and the way I feel.
This is a great example of how routine, in quotations, can be interpreted or let's say implemented differently, because while Carrie has achieved wonderful success building routine into when she eats, for example, that is not how I operate. I have no routine as to when I eat. I have routine around what I eat. So I eat whenever I'm hungry and I stop when I'm full, but I have a definite set of options that I choose from. So routine doesn't mean you always have to do the same thing, same everything. It just means take some of the decisions in your life and make them once and stick with them. That's really it. It's a difference between, in some ways, well, think of this actually is maybe a silly analogy, Carrie, but think about the amount of time and effort that goes into dating versus the amount of time and effort that goes into a good, established, happy relationship.
You're talking to someone that hasn't had a date in 7.5 years.
Well, I think like dating is this big ordeal. It's time consuming because it's you're starting from scratch every single time. That's versus,
why I don't do it.
So anyway, don't, as much as possible, when you find something that works, stick with it and certainly evaluate it. But don't force yourself to start from scratch every second of every day, because if you try to do that, you're going to run out of willpower by 11 a.m. And then you've got plenty of the day left where it's just, if you're out of willpower, you're not going to make the decision. Other people or society is going to make the decision for you. And that usually turns into suboptimal results.
I also, not only did I routinize when I ate, because for someone who was just skipping meals, sometimes multiple meals a day, for me, to get me back on track, it really helped to have this 7 noon 6 thing. And maybe at some point, once I've healed my body and everything's working better, I'll be able to be more like Jonathan and just eat when I'm hungry. But right now, setting that routine is what has got me back on track. But I've also been very deliberate about what I eat. So I've been although the foods for the last 2 years, the foods I've eaten have been sane, but where it's been not good is that the ratio of proteins to fats to non-starchy vegetables has not been right. So, and I think that for me, so I also make deliberate choices every day now about what each plate looks like. So it's much more non-starchy veggies, then protein, then the healthy fats. I've actually been doing the more high-fat, low-carb version of SANE the last month. I have not been eating fruits or any kind of sugars at all for the last month, and that's really helped my appetite get back on track. And it's also made it simpler for me because I'm not worrying about as many food groups. I'm just worrying about non-starchy veggies and protein and nuts. And I've been very clear about what I'm eating at every meal.
I love it, Carrie. This is an absolute gold mine. And again, I want to congratulate you on your wonderful success, because it has been absolutely fabulous. And on also playing the hand you're dealt. I know there are some stressful things going on in your life that aren't just going to go away. And there's obviously we all have different pre-existing medical conditions that can make things a challenge. But really embracing the hand we're dealt and saying, I'm going to do the best I can with what I have. And then I'm going to be genuinely happy about that. We gotta wrap up the show here, Carrie. But one thing that I am proudest of about you is I have never heard you say, I wish I was more like X, someone else. I've never heard you compare yourself to anyone other than yourself. So when you do better than Carrie from 3 months ago, you are thrilled, and you don't say, oh, but if only I could be as good as Fu, or if only I could be as good as Bar. You take genuine joy and satisfaction from becoming the best version of yourself. And that's something that I frankly envy, because I always compare myself to other people, and it's a horribly unhealthy habit to have. So, folks,
stop it then.
So stop doing that. So stop doing that. So congratulations again, Carrie. I'm so proud of you.
And I guess we'll carry on talking about this stuff next week.
We absolutely will. And until then, listeners, remember to eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. And don't compare yourself to other people. Chat with you soon.
See ya.
Wait, don't stop listening yet.
You can get fabulous free SANE recipes over at carriebrown.com.
And don't forget your 100% free eating and exercise quick start program, as well as free, fun, daily tips delivered right into your inbox at baylorgroup.com. That's BAILOR group.com.